are we seeing in terms of engagement? And lastly, you have to have the metrics and evaluation methods, because executives just want to see numbers. They don't want to hear, oh, the learners, they like the platform. Oh, yes, I've seen a lot of people there. But then to what end? So you must be clear on the metrics that you're showing. So let's look at some trends. Some of the trends that we're seeing in the L&D space as it relates to learning experience platforms is that we're seeing a lot more people leveraging data. The analytics is very important because business is a game of numbers. And if you look at yourself as L&D professionals in isolation of the business, then there's going to be a lot more difficulty in you getting leadership buy-in. Leaders want to see numbers. So you must look at the analytics, look at the engagement, and represent them in terms of numbers. Also, you have to look at how you integrate them with other HR technologies. You have an experience platform that you're looking at. You have what you call a robust engagement, and then you now see how you integrate it with other HR platforms. Also, you look at mobile learning. A lot of mobile learning is happening now. So you see how you are able to move that into mobile learning. A lot of people are on their phones all the time. So what kind of learning can you deliver that would help them take learning bit size and on the go? So technology has allowed that now, where a lot of digital disruption has happened, and we see the amount of disruption that's happened from 2020 to now digitally, it far exceeds what happened 15 years prior. So let's leverage that a lot as well in terms of driving learning, as we see that is much more really an evolving trend. Now, with everything, there are the ups and downs. So learning experience platforms also have the downsides. And when we're looking at downsides, because you find that you can curate content on your own and aggregate content from different sources, there's a tendency that learners may have a content and information overload. And so there's now some bit of apathy when it comes to using the learning experience platform because they just feel so overwhelmed. Also, content quality. It's important as L&D professionals that even when we're creating the content, we have to go through it ourselves. So we're sure that the content, the quality is good, and we show that it aligns with our overarching objectives. And then the recency and accuracy of it. So you are not also curating content that is dated and that trends have moved beyond that. And so when you do that more often, people would go through some of the content and find out, hang on, this changed in 2022. So why am I learning this now when things have gone far beyond this? And so you get some apathy there. And also the data privacy and data security, because a lot of things are just being brought into a congregated space. You may find situations where there's data privacy risks exist and there's some certain security risk. But then that's not to discourage you, it's just to make you understand that, yes, whilst learning experience platforms are excellent, it's also useful to begin to look at what the downsides are and begin to mitigate those potential risks. So when you're getting learning experience platforms, just some recommendations you look that are robust enough that can curate content across different platforms. So you find that some of these platforms have providers from they have content provider, over 200 content providers. So you have Udemy Business, LinkedIn Learning, where people are putting content from different sources. Microsoft Viva Learning is also another platform that you could use to create distinct user experiences. There is EG, which is also very, very good. Continue and 360 Learning as well. So these are content they're paid. But you would find which best works for your organization and your context, because context is very important. The context of your business, the context of organization, and the learning maturity model that you currently have would also inform what kind of platform that you're taking. So when you're looking at best practices for selecting and evaluating them, so I was saying context is important. So when selecting for your organization, you have to look at your unique needs. And some of the things to consider is, what are your learning and development goals? And really evaluate if that platform helps you achieve your learning and development goals. Secondly, you look at the features and functionalities. It's best you test it as the L&D person yourself, go through it, because you understand the organizational context a lot better and you understand the learning strategy of the business. That way, you'll be able to effectively evaluate if the learning experience platform you've identified or equally sufficiently meets your needs. Also, be sure that it can assess user experience. Ensure that you check that the platform can assess user experience, where you're able to deploy surveys to assess user experience. You also look at integrations with other tools. So seamless integrations are very important, or maybe API integrations where need be, so that you can take them to third-party platforms seamlessly with a single sign-on. So they log on to the learning experience and they can migrate to a secondary site to continue learning. Security is important. Will you check with your IT team to be sure that you are not exposing your organizational IT systems to any risk or compliance violations? And of course, vendor support is very important. So a lot of them exist, but you find that they may not, you want to check the one that offers you the best quality of user support, because just like technology, technology will know it will fail at some point or the other, but you need to be sure that this platform can give you user support at whatever time, and the customer support is also important. So I wanted to first share this set of points, usually looking at a learning experience platform, what it is, best practices, how you evaluate, how you can connect it to your organizational needs. And I thought it'd be useful just to perhaps take a few questions as well, if you have any that I can respond to. So I'll just pause here now.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Lasukomi Adenuga. Thank you so much. Please, do we have any questions? Anybody with questions? He has been speaking for the past 20 minutes. Please, let's ask questions. What did you jot down? What are the differences between learning experience and the LM? So please, let's ask questions. You want to raise up your hand? Somebody said brilliance. Yes, we know it's brilliance. What are your questions? We know it is very, very brilliant.
Hi, good evening.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question.
If you need to ask questions, please just raise up your hands so that we don't have three people talking at the same time, so that we can call you. Thank you, Daniel. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lasukomi, for this session. I'm really enjoying the training. So the question I want to ask is, yes, LMS, learning experience platform, but we've had challenges in some organizations, typical of mostly senior leaders that find it hard to actually drive these learning platforms to their report lines, because oftentimes they always assume that it is HR's responsibility all the time to drive training. Yes, it is our responsibility, but sometimes we don't see that drive from business leaders. So how do we convince them to actually buy into these training platforms, and also convince them that training is also part of the culture? Oftentimes they tell you, oh God, please, I'm not interested in your training. Please, what I need is numbers. I want to make money for the company. So they ignore the fact that training is an important aspect of the company culture. So how do we drive and convince them to buy into training as, part of a learning culture in any organization? Thank you.
Well, thanks for that question. One thing we have to first, and there's a popular adage that says, if you train people and they may get better and they leave, but there's a bigger consequence when you don't train them. So yes, leaders are always very averse to training, but this is where L&D professionals need to be a lot more knowledgeable about business, because once you can connect the learning to business, so what are the business problems? So you need to, as an L&D person, engage stakeholders across the organization. So you look at it by business unit. What are the challenges they're facing? If a unit is facing an X challenge, so let's look at it in terms of sales, their numbers are going down. So what do you need to do? Is it that your salespeople you don't have the right people, or they don't have the right consultative selling skills, or they don't have the deal closure skills, but then we can develop them. So I can assure you that if we develop training, this builds the skills, because you can see gaps in ABC. We can assure you that once we can do this, we'll see the numbers go up. But this is where analytics and tracking is also important. So engagement is always a problem too. Now, learning sits on 3 legs: responsibility. There's the organization, there's the line manager, and the learner. A lot more people always think that learning resides with HR. That's not the case. HR is just an administrator of learning. Learning is actually sits organization, line manager, and the learner themselves, because the organization knows the kind of performance and the broad capabilities they want to build to achieve performance. That is cascaded into a business unit objective, which feeds into the overarching organizational strategy. So if it is numbers and it's revenue, if we say we want to make 1 billion and we divide 1 billion across 5 business units at 200 million each, every business unit knows that they have to drive sales. Now, the person who leads that business unit, as say maybe the line manager here, understands what kind of skills do my people need. So rather than them saying they want to go and build emotional intelligence, they want to go for customer service training, emotional intelligence training, you look at which one really drives the business performance or the business objective. Sales. Okay, I need to begin to look at people developing sales, pitching excellence, consultative selling, deal closure and negotiation. Those are the skills that are going to drive sales. So the line manager too has a responsibility there, but most people think it is HR. Then, of course, the learner. Once the line manager has identified the learning that needs to happen, it is cascaded to the learner. The learner also now has a responsibility. What HR does is present that dashboard or roadmap to leadership. This is what we're doing. We've identified these gaps across at the organizational level. This has been cascaded to the business unit. So we're developing skills and competencies in A, B, C, D, E, and learners are going to be taking X, Y, Z courses. The communication is clear. And then what do you intend to see at the end? We intend to see at the end of the day, we want to see significant user adoption increase by about 10%. We want to grow sales by 20% year on year if we continue to deliver this, and we want to see staff retention grow. So that becomes HR's target, but driving the responsibility sits with the organization, leadership, the line managers, and the learners. I hope that sort of clarifies it.
Hello, Daniel, are you okay?
Yes, it's fine. It's fine.
Right.
I like the fact that you mentioned that we have to find a way to convince them, because even though it is, like you mentioned, HR is just an administrator in this aspect, it's equally important for us to also be a marketer, sort of, to sell these ideas to them, and also sell the brand, sell, the quote to them. So I think it's actually clear. Thank you.
Yeah, and you must look at it, just to add to that, you must communicate it from a business position, not a feelings position. So that's what leaders will listen to. Once they can see value to the business, you have their ear.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So I have some questions here.
Yes.
The first one is from Adetunji Tejuosho. It says, what are the best ways to combine both in a way that there's solid management buy-in? I think you've answered some part of the question.
Yeah, yes, but I would like to get a bit more clarity on the both. Is it the LMS and the LXP?
Okay, Adetunji, so please rephrase your question. So the next one from Uwe Jegan, Iris, please pardon me. My question, how do you migrate LMS to learning experience? We presently have LMS.
So you are not migrating. In essence, if you have an LMS, what you are doing is expanding the offer. So the LMS is a tracking and the LMS is an administrative tool, which does probably deliver SCOM content. The learning experience platform is going to pull content from your LMS if you have varied content. What the learning experience platform does is allow you now put varied content, which you can curate and create distinct learner paths. You can go on to secondary sites where you can create distinct learner experiences. So you don't ditch one for the other. You can go onto an LXP and be pulling content from your LMS, which will form part of the unique content curation that matches the learner needs. Some learners are happy going through SCOM content, that they would just see some animated person and then you click next, answer this for, okay, you drop down, select the right answer, move to next. And at the end of the day, they take sort of like a situational judgment test. And at the end, congratulations, you've passed 80%. Some learners want to have something a lot more interactive, or they want to listen to somebody. So you will be pulling, once you create the learning experience platform, or you have one, you can always pull content from your LMS onto the learning experience platform.
All right, thank you very much, sir. From Femi Afolabi, he says, which IT company in Nigeria can you refer to us for learning experience software?
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Which IT company in Nigeria can you refer to us for LXP software, learning experience software?
Okay, based on the previous examples I gave, those are global platforms. I won't be able to refer anyone particularly in Nigeria. I haven't come across one that is local, built locally, that actually creates that robust experience. But these ones are some that can be used.
Okay. From Adeyemi Ajayi, he says, the challenge for businesses in approving learning spend is usually how to determine in actual terms the return on investment on training. How can L&D specialists use the numbers to show return on investment on learning spend?
Okay. And permit me, a lot of us were all L&D people. And I think one of the weaknesses I've seen is where L&D is not owning the successes within organization. So, and I'll use sales, for example. Say maybe an FMCG company is trying to drive sales and they say this year we have to grow sales by 20%. The person who is the national sales director says, I've seen gaps in my people. I've seen that they don't know this, they don't know negotiation, they can't close deals. So I want training. L&D will start speaking to consultants to deliver the training. So they'll deliver a series of training on consultative selling skills, negotiation skills. Then the training is delivered. At the end of the year, they're doing the financial reporting. They see that sales indeed grew by 20%. The person who goes to the boardroom to make that declaration is the national sales director and says he has and everybody gives him a round of applause for it, that he has really performed. Indeed, it was L&D that did it. Those people didn't work in isolation of L&D. L&D delivered the training. L&D identified the right people to deliver the training. L&D was able to track that the learning they were delivering was going to create impact. And L&D did post-program follow-up to ensure that those people were performing. But when typically these sessions are delivered, L&D just steps back and they let the business people take credit for it. That is really how to represent it. So L&D must get into the room and be able to show from a numbers perspective that they are performing as well. So who got the trainers? Who delivered the training? We did. That's what we must put on the table and put in front of executives.
Okay, so, all right. So just a follow-up to Adetunji Sergio Show's question. He or she was asking, what are the best ways to combine, that is both LMS and learning experience, in a way that there is a solid management buy-in?
Okay, that's so exactly what I was saying earlier, that you can pull content from your LMS. So if you migrate to a learning experience platform, because you look at your learner demography that is changing, you can always pull content from your LMS. So existing content from your LMS is not obsolete. It is still valid because you have curated that content prior for specific learning within the organization, and you can still continue to use it. So it works together to give you more value. What you're going to, in terms of positioning to senior management or particularly because they will be investing in it, is to really be able to show that the learner demography is changing and the way people want to learn is changing also. And if we want to ensure that we're seeing performance, we must also identify how learners want to learn and be able to give them learning in the way they want to consume it. So I think that's the best way to do it.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So from Lonson Iduku, he says, my question is around analytics. Why recent analytics is always around course completion, adoption, etc. How do we measure the business needs that allow management to buy in?
Okay, one of the things we're looking at here is engagement and performance. Typical LMS, yes, that's what LMS will do for you. It will track completion. And that's typically the reports L&D normally generates. From a learner experience platform, what you want to do, if you're looking at HR overarching responsibility, you want to really evaluate what is the degree of engagement within the organization. So you can begin to unpack engagement into even learner engagement and learning transfer. You can look at it in terms of how it is impacting performance. Because if people are learning differently, they are consuming content differently, and they can see the value of that content. You can see a lot more cohesion within the organization because you can create peer groups on a learning experience platform, create people who can teach themselves in a group. You can see that on performance. That way you are able to really demonstrate the impact of learning. So in an organization, for instance, you've created a group of people who one person is good at one thing, but you created a learner group that is a peer-to-peer learning group where that person is doing peer coaching or peer training to teach the others what he or she knows. That's where you see that you find more value, and you must be able to show and create those groups and track it in such a way that you can demonstrate it properly.
Okay. The last question I have here, I think, is a follow-up to Uwe Jayan's question on IT, the company in Nigeria that you can refer them to on learning experience software. And he's saying, from your question, how do we get it? I'm currently in charge of training. After training, we get employees training effectiveness projects to get return on investments. Please recommend.
Sorry. Can you come there? I heard the last bit, but the first bit of it was breaking.
Okay, from his question, his first question was, my question, how do we migrate LMS to learning experience? We presently have LMS.
Oh, okay.
And I think you spoke about it.
Yeah,
and,
I spoke about it. Yeah.
He's following up with another question. That's a software. I think that's what he's talking about.
That's the platforms you can use.
Yes, please. How do we get it? The software. I'm currently in charge of training. After training, we get employees training effectiveness projects to get return on investment. Yeah. Please recommend.
Okay. Projects are good. I like the fact that you're doing that because it's an easy way to evaluate learning transfer and application of learning. So I like the fact that you're already adopting that style. But for how do you assess this? They are web-based. So all you need to do is reach out to any of these organizations by going on their contact page and ask them to give you a demo. So many of them are always willing to offer you a trial period. It will be limited access, and then you can try your hands on it. Then you see if it works best for you. So they're easily reachable. And then if you Google best learning experience platforms available, you would want to look at the ones that fit into your budget and your organizational learning style. Then if you have an LMS existing already that has API functionality, you can integrate the LMS with the learning experience platform you subscribe to. And they also have bundles. So the learning experience platform will give you one that has allocation for X number of users. It's maybe the robustness is also varied. The scale you want to reach, the size of the LXP is also varies. So that will determine what you pay. So I think that's the best way to approach it.
All right, thank you very much, sir. From Noya Baronye, she says, can LXP be used as a medium to train other colleagues in an organization?
Other colleagues. So I'll tell you one thing, well, if I understand that question, it is if learning can be used outside the boundary of the organization, of your primary organization. Yes. one of the things that L&D typically always focuses on is within the organization, but you must also determine and identify what your stakeholder groups are. So if you have a supply chain that you have to really focus on, it's important to also focus on that supply chain, and you can use your learning experience platform, register users on it to train them as well. If you consider them an important element of your business, it's important that you also ensure that learning is being delivered at that level as well. So you can use it within your organization and outside the organization. It's just all about profiling users on the platform.
All right, thank you very much, sir. From Oluwatosin Olaleye, she says, my question is, what do you advise L&D professional in a telecommunications industry where the technical team needs more of technical development?
Sorry, telecoms company.
Yes.
They say again,
It
please.
Says, my question is, what do you advise L&D professional in a telecommunications industry where the technical team needs more of technical development?
Okay, brilliant. And I'll tell you how you do that. And whoever asked that question, I would want you to really adopt that strategy. So the technical team within that telecoms company, the people, the knowledge resides within the company. So your subject matter experts are actually internal, and they're looking at developing people. So they're experienced people in the technical element. What you need to do, it's those people that will create the content. And the content could be as simple as them doing short bit-sized videos, 10-minute videos on, and I mean, I'm not a telecoms person, but I'll use random examples. If it's okay, telecoms mast installation, it's a real technical thing, but the person who is the specialist there will record a short video on, you create the content maybe in slides, in the content, and the person can come to record a video, 10 minutes. And then you look at other technical elements too. They record short videos, and that's the content for training them. So the expertise already is within the organization, and the responsibility of managers is also to train others. So you must get them as part of their KPIs to train their people. They may not necessarily step into class, but there must be a way that they create the content that they can use, that can be deployed on the learning experience platform.
All right, sir, thank you. And please, just a quick announcement, please. We have the attenders link there. Please, can you please click on it, especially those joining us for the first time. We'll talk about this later. Noya is also rephrasing her question. She says, can LXP be used to host trainings for your colleagues in an organization? Does it have a train the trainer model?
Yes, you can have a train the trainer, and just, it was speaking to the last question I answered. So
yes,
if you look at the SME, when I call your subject matter experts internally, they can build a responsibility where they begin to train people. So put it as part of their KPIs, that they have sessions where they're coming to train other people, because it's even more relevant now that you're seeing a lot of jackpot. A lot of people are leaving the organization, and you can imagine if 10 people who have been in an organization for 10 years leave the organization, that's 100 years of experience that leaves, and they've not created a system of transferring that knowledge. So it must be deliberate for people who have knowledge to train other people, and they continue to evolve that as a cycle. So you continue to run an internal train the trainer model. And we're doing that currently for a lot of organizations, where we help them build the structure, we help them build the systems, we help them create a place where they can warehouse the content. And some of the organizations we're working in have found that very useful, and they're using it now, the content we've created for them. So that's something that you must put in place for line managers, and you'll find that you are building organizational robustness and enhancing knowledge transfer and succession planning easily by doing that.
All right, thank you very much, sir. And so I guess these are the questions I have here right now. If you still want to ask questions, you want to speak, please, you can still just use the emoji icons to raise up your hand, and we'll call you to speak. Please, we have the attendance sheet there. Please click on the attendant link and fill it. We also have a payment for certificates. If you're interested, members for 2,000 and non-member for 4,000. All right, Mr. Lasukomi, we just want to ask you, will you be sharing your slide with us so that we can also go through them at our own convenient time while we are also listening to the recording
Absolutely.
of the session?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, sir.
So I'm projecting a screen. If you can see my slide, you'll see a QR code. They can use the phone just to scan it and you download the material.
All right, so just a minute. So please, everyone, if you have your barcode on your phone, please quickly download so that you can look at it later. It's still on the screen. If you are done, please let us know.
I'll also send it to you though. So, but
Okay.
if you want it right away, anyone who wants it right away can scan it now.
Somebody has taken a screenshot. Thank you. Thank you very
Okay.
much. Thank you very much. Any other question from anyone? We know learning has taken place, so please let's ask questions. Those questions have been bothering us as an L&D professionals, as an HR. Let's ask questions before we tell Mr. Lasukomi to go. Anyone? Okay. All right, there are no more questions here. I guess we've all learned something tonight. We've all learned something, and we will go back to our various organizations, especially the L&D team, and practicalize everything that we have learned today. Listen to the recording again, and then take that which belongs to you that you know that you can run with your organization. Especially speak the language of the organization. The language is, how do we translate this in order for us to make profits? That is what the MD, the CEO, the CFO want to hear. When we train them, what is our benefits? Is it going to increase the sale? Are we going to make more profit at the end of the year when we look at this? If you don't train them, don't blame them. Okay? All right, thank you very much.
So just a final comment I wanted to make is I wanted to just encourage everyone. Numbers is the language. Numbers are the language of business. So all L&D professionals, first and foremost, know the business. That's very important. Know the business. Secondly, love the business. So you can only effectively communicate about something that you really love. So know the business, love the business, and speak the language of the business. You'll find that you will get buy-in from your executives.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Know the business, love the business, and speak the language of the business. Thank you very much. So please, if you know that Mr. Lasukomi has answered your question this evening and you have learned something, please, can we appreciate him? Can you go to your icon, please? I want to see an emoji. I want to see a lot of emojis appreciating Mr. Olasukomi for the transfer of knowledge this evening. Please, everyone, thank you, Alayode. Thank you, Noye. Thank you, Case. Thank you, thank you, Olariwaju. Fumi, thank you. Please, let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. If we were in a physical environment, we will all have been standing up and be just be clapping and say thank you. And the whole auditorium would have been rowdy right now. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you so much. So on behalf of AHRP tonight, on behalf of the global president of AHRP, Mr. Michael Ogu, we want to say thank you so much, Mr. Lasukomi, for allowing us to tap from your knowledge tonight. Even though you are in transit, you still made it happen. Thank you so very much. That shows you are also passionate about transferring knowledge to people. We are so grateful and we don't take that for granted. Thank you so very much.
My pleasure.
I'm just going to Mr. Olariwaju Williams. Do we have any announcements? Any contribution?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm actually in transit, so you could hear some background noise. But having said that,
are you sure we're not coming from the same place? Maybe Larry and I are coming from the same place.
Possibly. But having said that, I try as much as possible to listen. There's that slogan that learning as